All right, hey everybody, Grant here with Cometly, and in today's video, we're going to do a deep dive into how another successful Cometly user is using Cometly to scale their ads to the moon. And joining me today is Anthony Camacho. Anthony, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Grant. Super excited to speak on Cometly. Thanks for giving me the chance to speak on this, and yeah, let's jump right into it.
Yeah, awesome stuff. So Anthony, what I love to do is just to have you start off, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your business, how long you've been running ads, and we can start there and get into it.
Sure. So I own a digital marketing agency that specializes in Google ads, Facebook ads, Pinterest ads, and most recently getting into TikTok. But kind of the bulk of the business is dependent upon Facebook ads. And we've been in the Facebook ad space since 2019. And then, when iOS 14 came, it was basically the virtual apocalypse for a lot of digital marketers. And so for the better part of 9 months, we've been trying to figure ways to get around this, the problems that come with attribution nowadays. And we tried managing directly with Ads Manager for multiple months to no avail. We launched products, test new interests, test new audiences, try lookalikes, try every trick in the book to sort of, how do you say this, to kind of offset the lack of attribution just by spamming as many ad sets and duplicating as many campaigns as possible, because we don't know what's getting the sale. So, just keep doing more of what's working, throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, basically. But yeah, so we work primarily with e-commerce brands, and we own our own e-commerce brand, which I like to say is our favorite client for our agency is our own brand. But yeah, that's a little bit about what we do, strictly e-commerce, and then we launch and scale brands through digital ads, primarily Facebook ads.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I always love to hear I always love to hear when someone has an agency. The first question I like to ask is like, are you walking the walk? Do you have your own brand that you're doing this for? And for you guys, the answer is yes. And that's always awesome. So Anthony, talk to me about how long have you been using Cometly? How did you come across it, and how long have you guys been using it now?
So we started with Cometly first week of March of this year. And I came across Cometly while I'm in a community with other e-commerce entrepreneurs, and we go back and forth constantly about how are people solving their attribution problems. And for 99% of the time, what works for one entrepreneur is not necessarily going to work for you. So some guys telling us, use Zapier to send purchase data to an offline event set, and we try that and it completely bombs. Or Google Analytics here, or Conversions API. When that came out, everyone was like, we'll be fine, we've got Conversions API. And then you try it out and it just totally bombs. So we've heard about Cometly just by being in the space of e-commerce, just by word of mouth. But then I also got targeted by multiple Facebook ads from Cometly. So I was getting yeah, you got me. So I was getting retargeted like crazy. And so that, combined with getting a discount code from Alex Fedotov, who's a mentor of mine. So getting hit with the Facebook ad, and then when I got the discount code, I was like, you know what, let's just give it a shot. Why not?
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's always good to hear the ads are actually working. So there we go.
Oh yeah.
So that's awesome. Okay, so March, now we're in, kind of approaching July. So basically like 4 months or so, which is cool. So yeah, I guess the fun thing I like to, or the interesting thing I like to talk about is like, there's obviously a ton of different, and you kind of alluded to this, you mentioned, Zapier and the Conversion API, whether we're talking about those or even like, there's a ton of other tracking softwares out there. What was the main reason that you decided to sign up and use Cometly, and obviously now 4 months in, continue to use it versus the other solutions?
Sure. So Cometly was really the first third-party software that we tried to implement, aside in terms of a tracking software. So I know there's other different softwares out there on the market, Hyros, Triple Whale, and essentially when we tried Cometly, number one was how easy it was to set up. So I'm not a super tech savvy person. So implementing things like UTM codes is like speaking a different language for me. So number one, it was just super easy to install. And then number two, when I found that it was working, I really saw no reason to go and try the other softwares. So they're like, as soon as I saw it was working, it's like, okay, well, now I can get back to doing what I know how to do, which is scaling and growing the brand. So yeah, once I knew that it was working and I could see by managing strictly through Cometly data that the business was starting to grow, that's when I was like, okay, there's no reason to like shop around different softwares. And I've tried Triple Whale, which I haven't even properly set up. Like the setup, I might get criticized for saying their setup is complicated just because I'm not like super tech savvy. But for me, in my experience, it was like I had no idea how to go from A to B, to go from having it not track to tracking. Whereas with Cometly, it's like there's a nice welcome video and you just follow it. It's like 3 minutes long. You plug everything in and then you're good to go. So definitely what attracts me to Cometly is just the ease of setup and then just how effective it is. Yeah, and just how effective it is.
No, I love it. That's great. And it's funny, you messaged me and you said, you tried running, you basically did a side-by-side comparison from the Facebook ads manager, like to Cometly, and the results were pretty drastic in terms of what you were able to accomplish. So on that note, I guess, how has using Cometly affected your ad campaigns and the results you're getting on your ads? If you know specific numbers, that would be awesome.
Oh, I mean, I could go on about for hours about how our revenues and our profits have increased. Just like no change in terms of advertising strategy or creative, really just managing strictly through Cometly. And you'll see it as we go through some of the data on the Cometly dashboard, but I was
If you want
managing.
to pop it open and share it, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and go through that. So let me pull up, let me share my screen. Okay, are you able to see this?
Yeah, perfect. Yep, I got it.
Okay, awesome. So here is when we basically from Wednesday of May 11th to all the way up to, let me organize my date here.
Yep. There you go.
So here you can see like basically the early beginnings of May. These first few, I want to say first 3 weeks of May, this is all, the ROAS you see here is all reflected from me managing in Ads Manager. So we had Cometly installed, but I wanted to see firsthand what the difference would be if I could, if I could really see a difference between what happens if I manage to Ads Manager, because I'm not sure if this is the case for most people, but for us, Ads Manager does report data. The problem is that it's misattributing. It'll say this ad set got a purchase, when in reality on Cometly, we come to find out, this ad set got a purchase, or it'll report a purchase and there'll be missing conversion value. So you'll have 9 purchases on an ad set and the ROAS will be like a 0.4, which just, doesn't add up. So here you can see May 4th, May 5th, May 6th, this is all me managing through Facebook Ads Manager. So we're spending like quite a bit, high daily budget, nothing crazy, but still considerable amount, and getting, to be honest, I'm just shredding my money. I'm taking a lighter and just lighting it on fire. And then we paused ads just because how bad the performance was. And you can see I'm like really trying day by day to get it going. And then we have a lucky day right here with this 4.7 ROAS. But you can see basically from the 4th to the 23rd, there's just no performance at all. And this is me managing strictly through Ads Manager. So if I take the 1st to the 23rd, so in that time frame, I spent close to $6,000, and to show for that, I have 3,200 in revenue. So this is basically the case study for what happens when you manage ads with Ads Manager in 2022. This is a 0.5 ROAS. So I don't know if you have a thing for just burning money. I mean, just go ahead and do this. So, but then I'll go ahead and switch to what happened after that. So if I take the 23rd to today,
Wow.
yeah, so there's a huge difference. So from the 23rd to today, we've been managing strictly through Cometly. I don't open up Ads Manager except to create ads and launch things. But the difference you can see is night and day. So we went from spending 6,000 at a 0.5 ROAS to spending 14,000 at a 1.9 ROAS to make back, was that 28,000 in revenue. So there are some fluctuations here, some bad days. So you've got a 1.7 here, 1.7 here, 1.5, 1.9, but you can see for the majority, in general, we're maintaining consistent 2+ ROAS. And I also want to mention that in this time frame from the 25th to today, I basically have not been launching anything too crazy. Like the budget is not really skyrocketing into $1,000 levels. I'm not launching or split testing multiple different things. This is me just launching my ads, turning off things that are not profitable and leaving things on based on Cometly. And the result is that I'm getting like more consistent performance out of Facebook ads than I did prior to iOS 14. So like from this stretch from the 28th to the 6th, to the 4th, excuse me, I didn't touch anything. I just left the ads on, which is a great feeling as an advertiser because you don't have to do any work, right? So, you know, a lot of these great ROAS and consistent ROAS are just me turning my ads on, turning things off that are unprofitable, you know, slightly increasing budgets, 15, 20% every day, and then just leaving it to run. So yeah, there's a slight downturn here, which is more attributed to my management than it is to Cometly. But yeah, in general, you can see just the huge difference to go from burning $6,000 to spending double that and then making, you know, 30 grand in revenue.
That is unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah.
So Anthony, I think a lot of people watching this are gonna be like, all right, well, Anthony has some type of like method or some type of thing that he's doing. So, you know, I'm just curious, like, well, first question is how often do you log in and use Cometly? And do you have a daily routine that you do when you come in here to look at your ads and run them and optimize them?
Mm-hmm. So I would be lying if I said I only check this once a day and I'm super disciplined. But to be honest, I'm always constantly checking Cometly throughout the day. Just because you get the results back, like from the time a purchase comes in to the time it will track on Cometly, it's maybe a 20 to 30 minute window. So just to see how ads are performing, I can go in whenever I want, really, and refresh Cometly, and I can see the purchase data within like a 20 to 30 minute window from when it actually came in. But in terms of management, I come in usually in the afternoons from 6 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then I come in and I'll check the data. I'll see, you know, I'll tally all my ad sets for the day, all my campaigns for the day, see what's profitable, check for different trends. If things are uptrending, we'll increase the budgets. If things are downtrending, we'll either, you know, downscale them or we'll kill them completely. But when I come in, I very seldom have Ads Manager pulled up alongside Cometly because the ad account feature that you guys added. So when we joined, there actually was no ad account feature yet. So we had to have it side by side with the Ads Manager and kind of like, you know, play this guessing game of like, did we turn the right one off? Like, cause you know, it just gets confusing. But yeah, I do everything in the Ads Manager feature of Cometly. And then if I need to create anything in terms of ads or ad sets or campaigns, that's the only time I'll go into Ads Manager.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And just to kind of talk on your sort of scaling strategies, obviously, there may be some Cometly users watching this, and you obviously have an agency, and there may be some people watching this that are like, oh man, you know, I'm using Cometly and I love Cometly, but you know, Cometly is not going to make my ads do better or not teach me how to scale. So there may be some people watching this wondering if you can help them. So in terms of like, in terms of your, you know, just some scaling strategies or tips that you would offer to maybe someone that's just getting into the ad game, or maybe some of your best practices, I think that would be cool. Like, you know, what are your go-to scaling strategies or, you know, optimization strategies in general that you implement on your ads and your clients' ads?
Sure. So the number one thing I'll say is that all of the performance here that you see first and foremost is made possible by having really strong product market fit, really good offer, really good landing page, and really high converting and selling ad creative. So if you don't have those four things, no magic that you do in the ad account is going to be able to like outperform those things. So you need to have that in place. If you don't have that in place, you're kind of just running uphill with a boulder tied to your back. That's a terrible analogy, but you get what I mean. You put yourself in a really good position to succeed with paid traffic when you have those four things really locked in. It makes your job easier, and then it makes it that much easier to get results. So I would say lock in those four things. And then in terms of best practices in general, if things, we like to increase budgets by anywhere from 15 to 20% daily on profitable ad sets, just because budget raises below 20% don't reset the learning phase. So you can increase budgets daily without resetting the learning phase, so that your ad sets are still, that you never have to risk de-optimizing your ad sets when you do increases below 20%. So that's a best practice we like to do on existing ad sets. And then in terms of scaling, it's really, there's multiple ways you can go about it. You can scale horizontally by adding more ad sets and more campaigns, or you could scale vertically by taking existing ad sets and launching them into higher budgets. The exact amount is really going to depend, of course, upon budget and how much scale whatever business you're working with can actually handle. But some of our favorite scaling techniques are, we prefer horizontal scaling. So we'll take a $500 scaling budget and kind of distribute that among 10 different ad sets and run those at $50, and we'll scale that way. It really depends on how your account is reacting. If you launch something at 3 times your target CPA and it doesn't work, then you need to lower the budget and test in that range. If it does work, then you can experiment and test higher in that range. And then last thing I'll say is, whenever you're launching ad sets, always keep in mind your target cost per acquisition or cost per purchase, and then kind of scale by using different multiples of that. That way you can kind of manage based on whether or not you're meeting that target CPA, and that just makes your ads more efficient so that you're not burning money, spending more than you need to acquire a customer. So those are kind of some general tips and best practices for just launching and managing and scaling.
Wow, yeah, that's really well said. I completely agree with all of those strategies. It's funny, like you seem to have such a good process dialed in for exactly how you sort of, manage, optimize, scale your ad campaigns. What do you think most businesses, or honestly, Anthony, most other agencies that, aren't so good at ads, what do you think most of them get wrong about, scaling campaigns in general?
I would say the number one thing, and this is something that we used to get wrong and still get wrong to this day, is thinking that the scaling happens or the magic behind the scaling happens in the ads manager when you're managing the ads. When in reality, there's so much work that has to be done on the back end in order to make that scale possible. So again, it comes down to product, ads, funnel. If those three things aren't dialed in, and this is the problem with drop shipping and kind of just all the YouTube gurus and just Instagram and all this influencer stuff, is that people think that you can discount on the back end and then make up for it on the front end with, this, 2022 updated scaling strategy on YouTube. And it's like, in reality, like 99% of us that are in the 7 and 8 figure level are just launching broad targeting at $1,000 and letting the back end speak for itself. So if you're struggling to scale, or you're struggling to see like consistent success in ads manager, then it's probably something that you're not fixing on your back end, your product, your ads, on your funnel. You keep the focus there, you make the job in the ads manager with any paid traffic source like 1,000 times easier. So that would be like my number one piece of advice.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Well said. And I always tell Cometly users that as much as I love that they use Cometly, and as much as I want them to sign up and use Cometly, Cometly won't make your ads perform better. You need a good product. You need the right targeting strategies. You need the right creative, the funnel, the lander, all of that stuff that you mentioned. It's a box of things. You need all of it.
Oh, yeah.
So said. In your opinion, this is more just for me out of curiosity, what do you find is the most useful feature that Cometly offers that you pretty much use on a daily basis during your routine?
Do you mean the most useful feature aside from it just tracking everything?
Okay, so the fact that it tracks everything perfectly is the best feature. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. The next feature after that.
That's tough. That's a distant second place. No, I'm just joking. Probably the best feature is the ad account feature, because like I said, I was using this in the early weeks of March when there was no the ads manager built in to Cometly. So that meant whenever you want to check your ads, yes, you know where everything's tracking, but when I've got a campaign with over 150 ad sets and I have to put it side by side with Cometly, trying to manage, and my laptop screen is not that big, so it made it so difficult and time consuming to manage ads, and of course you want the conversions to be tracking properly, and that alone was already like a Hail Mary being answered by God. But at the same time, it was taking me probably like an hour, 60 to 90 minutes every day to actually make the changes that would really have an impact on my business. So number one by far, aside from Cometly just tracking everything perfectly, is the ads manager feature. Once that was added in and I could go in without having to load ads manager, and I could turn things off, turn things on, raise budgets. I could see which creatives were getting sales in certain ad sets. I could turn off certain creatives in certain ad sets. Once that feature became implemented, my workflow, the actual workflow in Cometly became 15 to 20 minutes.
Wow. So that's actually unbelievable. So you went from kind of switching tabs back and forth to when we rolled out the ability where you can make changes inside Cometly, turn things on and off and decrease budgets, went from an hour down to 15 minutes. That's
and it was sometimes longer than an hour because, as we started scaling and increasing the ad spend, the number of everything just goes up. And then, our naming conventions are, we have multiple ad sets that are named the same thing because we're scaling things. So we'll take an existing ad set and the only change is the budget. So there would be times where I'm like looking at them side by side and I'll turn off, the $1,000 budget that's at a 2 ROAS versus turning off the $50 budget that was at a 0.5 ROAS. And then I'll have to go, I have to go back and turn it on. And then I have to make sure that I turn on the right one and I have to recheck all the data to make sure that was the right move. And then it was just a lot of hiccups and kind of bumps in the road that prevented Cometly from being really time efficient. And so once the ads manager feature was built in, like I said, I don't have to go to ads manager. All the data is in Cometly, so I could just turn things off, turn things on. And yeah, the workflow, it's not an exaggeration. It sounds like an exaggeration, but it really is like 15 to 20 minutes of just daily management that Cometly makes possible.
That's amazing. And then what do you do now with that extra time that you're saving? The extra 45, 50 minutes you're saving with that time. What do you do with that time now that you don't have to, spend it doing manual analysis?
Yeah, it's great. So a lot of the manual analysis was taking away from me being able to optimize a lot of the back end in terms of product ads and funnels. So now I can focus it makes the media buying so simple because the media buying shouldn't be hard. So it shouldn't be this needlessly complicated process. So I can go in 15, 20 minutes, see what's working, see what's not working. And then at a creative level is where now I spend the bulk of my time trying to really optimize the ads and really make high converting creatives. And so that extra time goes into me saying, okay, our top of funnel acquisition is looking a little weak for the past 2 weeks. How can I switch up the creatives to sort of leverage that audience more effectively? Or, we haven't really launched any middle of funnel audiences. Why don't I go and source the creatives for that particular audience? So now with that extra time, I'm also able to look at our other traffic sources. So we run ads heavily on Pinterest and Google. So the time I spend that's not on Facebook, I can kind of switch gears and go to different platforms. It just frees up much more time that was being taken from the business needlessly. So that's the main thing I would say.
No, that's huge. I absolutely love to hear it. So, wow. So that's pretty incredible, Anthony. So you went, basically, to recap, you went from losing, roughly when you first started, you jumped on Cometly, but you were kind of still using the Facebook Ads Manager. You went from losing $3,000 to $4,000 on managing the campaign to then jumping in, using Cometly, ignoring what Facebook says in their ads manager, and you made 30,000 in revenue, about 15,000 in profit. That is a pretty insane turnaround. So that is great. What would you say, Anthony? What would you say to another, e-commerce brand owner, or even another agency owner? What would you say to someone who's not using Cometly, or they're on the fence about using Cometly?
Yeah. If you're not using Cometly, or if you're on the fence about it, then I mean, I honestly have no idea how you're going to solve this attribution problem. If you're on the fence, or you still need to think about it, don't. You should absolutely have this software. If you don't already have it and you're currently running ads for your own business, or worse, someone else's business, then that should be punishable by law. That should be a crime, because there's no way, I'm 1,000% convinced there's no way that your ads management won't improve when using Cometly. It'll make your workflow faster. It'll make you better at managing, and it'll just put you in a better position to succeed in e-commerce. So if you're not using it, if you're on the fence, I mean, I don't know how else to convince you. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. So you saw the difference between managing with Ads Manager and then switching to Cometly only. You just give it a shot. I think you guys are also the cheapest software on the market from what I've seen. So I mean, there's really nothing to hold you back from trying to give it a shot.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well said. Unless they like losing money on their ads, that's the only reason.
If you prefer that, then by all means. Or if you like losing money for your clients' ads, then stay away, please.
I absolutely love it. Anthony, so last thing is, if there are some Cometly users maybe watching this video, and they're like, man, this guy really knows what he's talking about. I would love to talk to Anthony about potentially running my ads. One, are you taking on new clients? And two, where can people find you if they want to talk about you potentially running their ads for them?
Sure. So yeah, we're always accepting new clients. And then on the side, I also do kind of coaching / consulting for other agency owners, digital marketers, e-commerce entrepreneurs, people in e-commerce, whether you're an advertiser or you actually own the brand. I do a little bit of consulting and coaching in that space. So, my primary social is Instagram. So if anyone wants to reach out to me there, by all means, you can shoot me a DM. I reply to all of them, which is just my name. The only caveat is that it's my full name with 2 H's at the end, because my full name was taken. So it's just Anthony Camacho with 2 H's at the end. So yeah, feel free, if you want, shoot me a DM, reach out to me there. If you're an agency owner, if you're an e-commerce entrepreneur, or if you're a digital marketer, if you want me to run your ads, or if you want consulting or help on how you can leverage Cometly and to manage and scale your ads even more effectively than you do now, by all means, shoot me a DM.
Awesome stuff. Anthony, thanks so much for joining me today and showcasing your results. Appreciate you jumping on, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging out.
Absolutely, Grant. Thank you so much for having me.